Hi, it's Jasmine. You know, that girl who did you know what way before the internet ever existed. Join me and my special guest every week as we talk about anything and everything because nothing is too taboo. So punch your ticket and get on board the crazy train with me, Jasmine St. Clair. All aboard! Welcome to a brand new episode of Crazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair. As you all know, I like to have different guests on, and music is definitely up there in my passions. So I decided to bring on Raymon Terry. He's got a few really cool things going on. First of all, he is Cleveland cool because he's from Cleveland. Everyone knows I love Cleveland. And he has a Jiu Jitsu studio and his band Kill the Fall. So it's really three really cool things. Let's welcome to the show Raymon Terry of Kill the Fall. Thank you so much for joining me. And I have to say, so the first thing that jumped out at me about you was Cleveland, of course, because I love Cleveland, and Jiu Jitsu. So Raymond, tell me how you got into Jiu Jitsu.
For my first stint in music, I was on tour nonstop for about 14 years. And once I was kind of burnt out with that and done with the music scene, I went into my next love, which was coaching football and MMA. So with that MMA comes the jiu-jitsu aspect. And by the time I got into it, I was a little too old to be getting in the cage and be getting hit in the head. So I stuck with the jiu-jitsu, which is more of the ground game, more of the grappling, wrestling, that aspect. So that's kind of how I got into it.
That's interesting because I know guys older than you, like you're 35, 32, but that are like way older than you, that get hit with light tubes and shower glasses like every other weekend.
Yeah, well, I try to keep any of the shots to the head to a minimum. So I'm trying to keep the brain activity high.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I don't think that type of action is actually very good for brain activity. So let's talk about your
no.
no, it's yeah. So let's talk about your very first musical band, which was Allergic to Horrors, which I
Yes,
love the name of the band, I have to say. Did you guys ever get any problems with that?
we did. We did. Not from any female fans at all. It was mainly the pushback was from more of the male fans that we had. But I always said it has nothing to do with, sexual thing. It was, for us, it was more of a corporate entity, like a corporate whore and that type of thing. Selling your soul for money. That approach was what we were looking at with the name. So, but yeah, we did get some pushback quite often. And actually, when we went into Warp Tour, the first communications about getting up onto the Warp Tour, there was a little bit of pushback at first, but ultimately they were cool with it. So
I wonder what straight male would not like the name of the band Allergic to Whores.
well, they just they had that thinking that it was a misogynistic point of view. So, but my comeback was, well, men can be whores too, so it's not really a you know strictly to a female thing. You know what I mean? So who's really being more misogynistic, the person that is looking at it from that point of view, or the more open point of view? So yeah.
Well, nothing's wrong with being a whore, please. As long as you're smart about it, and at least you pick people like half your age that you're like proud to be seen with in public, right? Like that's the whole ticket
There
to
you
boring,
go.
I think sometimes. Um,
Yeah, I mean, to each its own, right?
at least they look good.
Whatever makes you happy.
What got you
Yeah.
started with music?
That was when I was very young. When I was very young, I started playing classical guitar, and I had a teacher from maybe from around the age of 6 until about 9, and then she actually went away to teach overseas, and I just didn't want to deal with another teacher for whatever reason, so I stopped for a while. And then in my teen years, I picked it back up. Um, Guitar wise, my big influence of picking the guitar back up for more of the rock guitar was Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Page is for me, the ultimate guitar player. And then when it comes to songwriting and lyrics and that approach, it was a lot of Pearl Jam was a big influence on me. A lot of early punk bands like the Misfits and Minor Threat, and then Tool is another big influence. So those bands really influenced me on the songwriting aspect, and then just all around playing of the guitar was Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. So, and then it took me a while though, because I come from a pretty, uh, you know, a different background. My childhood was not the best, so I had to find a way to make my own money to get that guitar. And then when I finally did get it, it was, a process of relearning the guitar, and then the big process was learning how to play with a drummer and be in a band. It's a totally different thing than playing the guitar on your own, just sitting in the room doing whatever. And then when you get with the band and have to be in time and that type of stuff, it's a different animal. So by the time I was probably around 18, 19 is when I started the first band, Allergic to Horrors, and from then on it was just writing, recording, touring. That's all we did for years and years. So, and then, from there I took a little bit of time off. Like I said, after about 14 years of nonstop touring with Allergic to Horrors, and then what would become Kill the Fall, I just kind of was really burnt out. So I wanted to take a break, and I got into a new career, started the gym, started the MMA, the Jiu Jitsu, and coaching football, and then here I am. So that's a quick rundown of the history of my music career.
Well, that's got to be I mean, like I'm an only child, so I could understand the whole playing the guitar by yourself, but actually having to collaborate with someone and share this creative space with someone at such a young age, was it difficult for you? Were you an only child?
I was not an only child. I have two brothers, but I come from a bit of an abusive background when it comes to the family and that type of thing. So a lot of my time as a teenager was just all spent on listening to music, writing lyrics, learning to play the guitar, learning how to write music to go with the lyrics that I was writing. Because that was a real massive outlet for me, for my emotions and the things that I was going through, was being able to write and get that out of me when it comes to the guitar and the lyrics themselves. So, but once I got with the band, I did all the writing, so I just would write the songs. And I mean, Lizard Horse is just a fast thrash punk band, so it wasn't too intricate of writing. We just kind of went in there and played fast and hard. So,
Yeah, I liked a lot of thrash.
but it was a good release.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
thrash and like Bay Area thrash metal, I think was one of the best releases for kids that grew up in let's just say a toxic environment or had this aggression they wanted to get out in a mosh pit or something, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's great to play that fast. You're up there playing fast and screaming, and it was a great time for sure.
And getting back to Led Zeppelin, everyone always says, "Oh, Stairway to Heaven, it's like the best Led Zeppelin guitar solo." Personally, I prefer Achilles' Last Stand. What would be your favorite Led Zeppelin guitar solo?
My uh I might have to say, well, the one that got me knowing that I wanted to play guitar in a band and be on stage was Whole Lotta Love. Like that one was like the one that really drew me in. But really, Dazed and Confused is another really great one. I just like the atmosphere that's created in that song. So, but yeah, I mean, Stairway to Heaven is not in my top. So, I mean, it's a great song, but it's still not in my top Zeppelin songs. Maybe because it's a little overplayed, but
Yeah, everyone like uses that or the Immigrant Song. Highly overplayed for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Uh,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
most definitely. What was your first guitar?
My first guitar was a Washburn Lion. It was just like their starter, the starter level guitar, kind of like a Fender Squire, that type of thing. But it was Washburn, and we had in my town, Berea. There was just a place called Berea Music, and all they sold was Washburns. So I went in and took the little bit of money that I could save up and asked the guy, "What can I get for this?" And He said, not much, but you can get that. So it was the starter guitar, and that's, it's a little practice amp. That's all I had. So what the guitar came first. So I had to play electric guitar with no amp for a while, just to kind of until I saved up to be able to get the practice amp.
They're like, I think that there's a big difference between a guitar store in Cleveland, Ohio. It sounds like it's a fairly small town where you're from versus like going to Guitar Center where you are in band hell. You hear like every working there must be hell. Like you hear every single kid with their guitar and their fucking amp and everyone's trying to like do this dick measuring thing of like who's better or who's
Yeah,
this. It's
yeah,
like Jesus, just like give me a bullet to die on at that point. Um
yeah.
yeah, it's seriously different. It's a whole other monster. Now, you've
I can't. I hate the Guitar Center. I hate
it's
it.
like a factory.
Yeah, it is, and like, you know, to be blunt, the people that work there are kind of dicks too. Um, I mean, obviously not everybody, but in general, it's like, I know this might sound harsh, but to me, it's like the place where musicians that have not, done anything in a band or anything like that, or are done, or whatever you want to call it, they just go work there and they're just jaded and mad at the world. And you try to ask them a simple question, and they're just kind of they look down their nose at you, and it's just, I'm not cool with it. So I miss the days of having real music stores with like that one old dude sitting behind the counter that knows every answer to every question you could possibly have, and wants to tell you. You know what I mean? Has a real passion for it. Unlike the Guitar Center, where, like you said, it's a fucking factory.
No,
I'm
you're
not,
allowed to
I'm
curse.
not a
I've
swear,
cursed way
but
more. Trust me.
okay,
No, I agree. And
okay,
you're supposed to be harsh because I love
yeah,
being harsh. That's one of my fortes. I don't know if it's
okay.
like one of those things with age or just like not being impressed. Speaking of Guitar Center employees, a real quick story. Years ago at the Key Club, I was hanging out with the Jonathan Denias, who plays with Anthrax now. I was doing a lot of metal interviews in that time. So there's this arrogant creep that I remember from a few days before at Guitar Center, right? So he decides to show up upstairs, and I'm just watching a show. I think Meshuggah was playing, and I'm with John, I'm with a few friends, having my martini. I don't know what this guy said to me, but this is one of those moments that possibly could be spoken about to this day. It's like, I always see you at shows. Like, why the fuck do you even come here, man? Like, I don't get it. I just broke my martini glass and I punched him in the face. But the bouncers, like, I gave him two good punches. They're like, "Are you finished?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "All right, fine." Then they took him out. You'd think that this guy, it's the other way around, like me getting thrown out. I ran into him at Guitar Center a few days later. He had a stitch on his face. He was a dick, by the way, and I found out he was a failed musician from the Hollywood Boulevard Sunset Strip, which is they're cliches. It's
There you
just they're
go.
cliche people working there. I feel as though there's been a decline of great music, right? Like you've been doing this since the '90s. What has been your observation on social media impact on music?
I think that the biggest thing that I've noticed of getting back into music and trying to, make music, get the music back out there to everybody, it seems like everybody's fucking attention span is nothing. Like they want to hear something. Like I was just talking about this with our producer Ryan, and there was a time when, in the '90s, an intro to a song could go for like a minute and a half, and we're not even into the song yet. And now all they want is the catchy hook, the chorus, and they want it right now, and they want it like in 30-second intervals, not anything more or less. It's like, so I think the attention span of kids or whoever's listening to music now is the biggest problem. Like there's no time to let the song just like marinate and become what it's going to be. So I think that's one of the biggest things, and everything's done through, you're getting your plays and you're getting your popularity through TikTok or Instagram and that type of thing, rather than word of mouth or going to a music store or like trusting your buddy to say, hey, this is a good band, then you go check it out, or even just watching a video or watching an interview with the band and seeing a T-shirt that they're wearing and going, oh, I wonder what the band that is. Like back in the day, that's how I would find all my new music, is either by word of mouth or a T-shirt or something to that effect. And now it's like, you know, 15-second spots on TikTok. So a little different.
Yeah, it's not even that great. Like, I cannot go on TikTok, and I feel as though it will be the decline of Western civilization to a degree because people just go on there. They have their short attention spans. And also, I don't know how this came up. It's just one of my weird thoughts. How is it that now we're remaking really good movies from before? We can't come up with anything creative, and these little things on
Yeah, everything's a
TikToks, it's
remake.
just like 10 seconds, 5 seconds. People who engage with that cannot sit through one of the best drum solos ever, 2112 Rush,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Because there's no appreciation for the art in my opinion, or I shouldn't say there's none, but it's definitely went down severely. The appreciation of the art and the writing, the actual writing of the song itself, and the lyrics and the details that go into everything. I think it's just lost, like you said, in these 15-second intervals where they don't have the attention span to listen to that in-depth, you know, longer song, bigger intros, drum solos, that type of thing.
Do you think that there's a way to make this whole culture work, this whole TikTok culture work with really good music? I mean, yeah, you could listen to 2 or 3 seconds of a really good song, but how do you think this will affect kids actually listening to good music? Maybe if we ban TikTok or something, I don't know. Are you looking for a safe way to bet online where there is something for everyone, including yourself? Then go to betonline.ag where I am sure you will find something. Don't forget, it's betonline.ag for the most variety and the safest way to bet online.
I think that everything comes back around, and I think eventually things are going to go so far to that short 15-second TikTok that it's going to bounce back a little bit because you already start seeing now records are coming back. People are having a more of appreciation for vinyl and creating and making vinyl. Oddly enough, like I've been noticing cassette tapes are coming back.
Which one? Sorry?
That's
Cassette tapes? Oh, yeah, cassette 8 tracks. Yeah.
you know cassette tapes. Yeah, no, not even 8 tracks, just regular old. The little because so. I think everything will come back. After we go so far one way, it just has to bounce back a little bit. I think that's like the cycle of everything in society. Once it tilts so far, the scale's one side, it balances out and comes back. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of that come back to the songwriting and with the rebirth of vinyl and records today.
It's an appreciation for sure. Like, I remember opening up my Kiss album, Dressed to Kill, and they had little tattoos in there and little pop-out dolls. You could dress them up. So I kept all my vinyl, thank God, and I'm not going to part with it. I still have all my original concert shirts. And I don't like people talking to me about my concert shirts when they don't know the band. And I had this disagreement with Ricky Rackman, not really a disagreement, but his whole thing is okay, the name 3 songs. It may not work all the time, but maybe there'll be some kid that actually picks up a Rush album or an Iron Maiden album. Because I have, because they see a really cool Power Slave jersey on, or I don't know. So hopefully they catch up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with. I don't really get on the wagon of like saying that if you wear the shirt, then you know if you don't know the band well, then you don't deserve to wear the shirt. Or you know what I mean. I just think, hey, if it's promotion for the band, it kind of helps what we were just talking about of getting people back into the older bands that had more artwork to their records and more intricacies to their songwriting. So I think it was like I forget what TV show had Metallica, like the kid wore the Metallica shirt.
Stranger Things. Yeah. Stranger
Is it
Things.
Stranger Things? Is that what it was? Yeah, yeah. So I mean that definitely had to boost a lot of the newer generation and the younger generation into listening to Metallica. So you know, I think it helps. I mean, any exposure, in my opinion, is
Except if
good.
it's Kim Kardashian. So, you hear about like Jeff Hanneman of Slayer dying, Lemmy from Motorhead dying, which is like one of the greats that hit me pretty hard because I knew him personally for many years. It's like, why can't it be like a Kartrashian or something? Because you guys, like, they donate zero to fucking society. And okay, I get it. Their stylist is a metalhead and and thinks possibly, let's go ahead and put Kim Kardashian in a Metallica jersey or a Slayer jersey, and maybe she'll get their fans because metal fans are loyal to the bone. Sorry, I went on one of my crazy rants. I do that now and again.
No, I'm sure that's what his thought is to bring those metal fans over there. But the flip side of it is, a lot of those fans might, come over to the metal side and start listening to Slayer or Motorhead.
Yeah, we're too
Maybe.
hardcore for
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can only hope, right?
So, how did the Kill
Yeah.
the Fall? How did that come about?
That came about right after the demise of Allergic to Horrors. Once that band was done, I decided I wanted to go in a different direction, a little more in-depth songwriting and not just the thrash punk and that type of thing. So I didn't really want to keep changing the music style of Allergic to Horrors to fit my songwriting because I didn't want to like what that was is what it was. So I decided to start something new with what I wanted to start writing, which became Kill the Fall. And then Kill the Fall was around and toured for a good amount of years. Um, and so we started in 2004. Our first record was 2005, an EP. Our full length was 2008, and then shortly after the full length we were done. I just I really was burnt out on touring and making records in the music industry in general. I had done it for like about 14 years, so I was just kind of done. So I went into, like I said before, my next passion was coaching football and athletics, and I've always wanted to get into MMA. I started going that route. That got me into the Jiu Jitsu, and eventually, I've always been the type of person to do my own thing on my own path. So I opened up my own gym, and then in 2018, I had some songs. I started playing again. I actually put the guitar down and stopped playing during that whole period. I was just that burnt out on it. I picked it back up, started playing, had some songs, called the guys from the band and said, hey, do you want to just do these songs? I don't want to tour. I don't want to do anything except for make this record, put it out, and just leave it out there. We didn't even promote it, nothing. We just said, this is just for us, simply for us. And we did it and let that sit for a while until, you know, last year, or yeah, the beginning of this year. The beginning of this year is when we decided to pick things back up and start working again.
Well, what's the ideal touring situation for you, schedule wise?
For me and the band, we would like to get out on the road as much as possible. So whatever, I mean, you know, I have not been on the road for many years, so I'm pretty fresh to ready to go. So I don't have, all those years of touring. I have a big gap in between from the years that I did tour to now. So I'm like a recharged battery ready to go. So whatever's out there, whoever wants us to open for them, or whatever, clubs and tours want to have us, festivals,
Yeah,
whatever it
it's a
is, we're in.
wild life. Like, I was pro wrestling for quite some time, then I stopped, right? Then I just got back into it 2.5 years ago, and it's changed so much. It's mostly deathmatch wrestling, and that's where all these light tubes and things and tables. It's like being in a war zone half the time, but I like chaos. So it fits me now, like fine. Whether or not I'm gonna say I love traveling every single weekend, in like 2 years from now, I don't know. But I'm not married or anything, so I basically do what the fuck I want. Um, yeah, right. I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
So are you on the
Huh?
road every weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking to this guy on Instagram, and then he saw one of my Instagram posts where I was making out with this guy. It was part of a wrestling angle, but yeah, if he was ugly, I would have said no. And plus, he's old. He's like 30, like 38 years old. He's like way too old anyway. So the other guy had nothing to worry about because he's 25. But yeah, he basically saw that and couldn't understand. It's entertainment. So do you find it very hard to keep or foster relationships with the type of work you're in? Or let's say you pick up and go for like a 6 month tour.
Well, no, I'm lucky to have somebody that's very supportive of everything I do, and I am on the road a ton with
Yeah.
the jiu-jitsu also. So as we speak, I'm in a parking lot in the car because we're on our way
Oh,
to Chicago for a tournament. So yeah, that's why I'm in the car because we were on the highway and we're like, I have to get this done. So we just had to pull off and do the interview. But so I'm on the road all the time, anyways. So you know, it just would be the touring would just have to fit around the jiu-jitsu schedule, which is not that big of a deal. It's only like once a month we're on the road for jiu-jitsu.
I like jujitsu, but I took
I
JKD
mean
when I was
it's
a kid. I took that for like
yeah
8 years.
okay
It was fun,
okay yeah
kind of. It's a good tool to have,
yeah
like
that's
nowadays.
yes, very much good
So
self-defense
when
for
would
sure.
your next work be coming out with Kill the Fall? When can we expect something like I don't want to say CD or album because I don't know what formats it's going to come out on. I don't know what the appropriate term is these days.
Right now is going around every 8 to 10 weeks. So we just had excessive failure on June 5th, and then August 14th we had the suffering, and we just finished pre-production for the new song "Screaming into
Hmm.
Silence." So that should be another couple weeks, maybe like November. You'll probably see a single out for that. And then at the beginning of 2025, we're going to put those three singles plus some other songs that we have in the works, and just we're going to actually do a vinyl release. So that will be on record. So, yeah, so it'll be good.
That's going to be really
But yeah,
cool.
so probably around November, probably around the beginning of November, we'll have that next single coming out, and we just follow. Jamie for the win is the one that kind of keeps us on the schedule for when the releases should come out. She's amazing. She's been doing an amazing job. So she tells me a good time to put it out, and I just follow the orders.
Yeah, she's really talented. She used to work at Roadrunner back in the day. That's how I met Jamie Roberts
Yeah,
originally, and all those, like that
yeah,
whole conglomerate. Those were some of the best publicists I feel in the industry. Better than most of
yeah.
the
She's
other
amazing.
ones, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. She's amazing, and she's doing an amazing job of like guiding me through how things are done now because I was lost. Came back into it, and the first thing we did was work with Ryan and Bob Marlette from LA, and we did the record, and then when it was done, we're like, oh, now what do we do? I'm like, because I was like, well, maybe we just start touring, and those guys were like, no, it doesn't. It's not the way it used to be. We got to have. So they hooked us up. Ryan hooked me up with Jamie and said, hey, she's amazing. She'll take care of you, and she liked what we were doing. So it's just been a great team to have around us for sure.
And if you had to describe your sound to someone that wants to listen to your music, how would you describe it?
I think it's a mixture of rock and punk. Um, Not traditional punk, but more like maybe like a melodic punk mixed with like just a heavier rock. Um, a lot of influences from that '90s grunge scene, and that era, along with early punk rock. So it's just kind of a mix of everything. That's all, a mix of all my influences, all just kind of put into one big mess.
And I want you to drop the name of the single one last time before I forget. The one coming out in November.
So there's in November, that would be called the Screaming into Silence. That's November, and out now is the Suffering.
Okay. So Screaming into
So
Silence will
yeah,
be out November by Kill the Fall, which I really love
yes,
the name. Where did you come up with that name again? Kill the Fall?
that was just part of a line in lyrics I had written, and the song wasn't used, but I just really liked that the way those words went together, and so I just grabbed it and made it the song I'm sorry, the band title.
And if fans want to follow you or people want to learn more about your band, where do they go on social media, please?
It's at Kill the Fall. Real simple.
Yeah.
Just the band name at Kill the Fall on Instagram. As of right now, we don't have a website. We're just funneling everything through the social media. We're on Facebook Kill the Fall, and we're on Instagram at Kill the Fall. And then my own page is at Raymond Terry.
And your jujitsu is on there as well, I suppose.
Yes, at RTSC training center.
Okay, great. And do you have any messages for your
Yes.
fans or potential new ones?
No, just keep supporting us. We're very appreciative of all the support, and just we will keep the music will keep coming. So just keep the support coming.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much and sit tight. And don't forget everyone,
Thank you.
support Kill the Fall. Find them on Spotify, Apple, I guess everywhere, right? Is that where we find you?
Everywhere. Yep. Yeah. Apple, Spotify, Pandora, all of it.
Well, thank you very much.